Good evening. What's happening, Black Factor family? It's your man Brian Forbes on the microphone, and this is Free Thinker Friday on the Black Factor. We gon' hang out a little bit today, but you know I can't help but to talk about the obvious. Y'all know what the obvious is, and if you don't know, of course you know I'm gonna tell you, and that being that y'all's president, Benedict Donald, messed around and got himself shut down once again. Uh-oh, we got a little issue here. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, he got himself shut down again, and so we're going to talk about it. I see you, Siri Fields, Val Wells, Miss Walker, and Martha Williams. I see y'all. Thank you for checking in. I appreciate you. Look, before I get off into it too much and start telling jokes and acting a fool right quick, I got a little bit of bad news. Let me put this out there right quick. I'm going to give a quick shout out to one of the Black Factor family that we have lost in the last day. I'm very unhappy to announce that Mr. Bryce Ross has transitioned. This was one of our regular listeners. And in fact, it just so happens he was one of my family members as well, a little bit more distant, but a great guy who loved history. So I want to make sure that I give a little bit of tribute to this brother. This man right here. Let me also say he was a alumni of my high school, Chicago Vocational. Don't ask me what year he graduated because it was way before my time. Vietnam veteran, Black Panther, father, and black man. So I want to give shouts out to Mr. Ross, and we're going to miss him. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, this show right here, we're going to talk about y'all's president. We're going to keep it real loose today because, it's just, I wonder how much of a glutton for punishment do you really have to be to continue taking these losses the way he does. I don't really understand it, but you know what it is. Y'all know what it is. So we're gonna get this thing jumped off. Y'all hang tight. All right, let's get it. Mr. Kenneth Holden is in the building. What's happening, Ken? I would love to pronounce the name that I see in front of me, but I cannot. Tyrelius, is that correct? All right. Thank you for checking in, brother. Siri Fields, I see you. Y'all are in the building tonight. It's Friday, and we're going to kick it just a little bit. So, y'all's presidente, El Presidente, has taken another defeat. Yet another defeat. Right now, I think I hear something. Is that him? Oh, yep, that's him. Y'all know he's in the White House right now, cutting up. He's very, very upset. The decision to shut down this nonsense that we been trying to figure out. I'm starting to think we're living in this country. We're starting to live in bizarro world. What's happening? Is this the United States? Are we still in America? Because I swear I feel like we're in the Twilight Zone with all of the madness that's going on. This Texas Republican Attorney General, Ken Paxton, who decided to take it upon himself to make an attempt. Now, I bet y'all all wondering, why the hell did Texas try to pull it like that? I bet y'all are thinking that. Well, check this out. The reason Ken Paxton from Texas decided to try to sue 4 other states, and that's a whole other thing we're going to talk about too, him trying to sue 4 other states, how ridiculous that was. But Ken Paxton, who just in the last couple of days, it's been announced that he is under investigation by the FBI for bribery. Ooh. And something we're very familiar with the Trump administration, abuse of power of office. This is the guy who decided to put up a lawsuit to take to the Supreme Court to attempt to shut down Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Now, this infringes on the very thing that conservatives have been fighting for since the beginning of what we know as this so-called democracy, and that is states' rights. Now, for those of you who stick with me and watch these shows on the regular, you'll remember that we had an entire show where we talked about states' rights and how that affected the Second Amendment and why that applies to what we're going through right now. Well, they went around the idea of states' rights and tried to sue 4 other states in the Supreme Court. Of course, that was a no-go, which we knew that wasn't going to happen anyway. But the most disturbing part about this, now, Ken Paxton, my guess is by him being investigated by the FBI, he already knows that they're going to find dirt on him and he's getting ready to be caught up. I'm guessing that he did this as a preemptive strike to try and get a pardon before Trump leaves office. That's what I'm thinking. That's really what I'm thinking. On yesterday, it was 106 congressional members decided to sign this so-called, I guess, petition or whatever you want to call it to go before the Supreme Court. Today, up to today, there were 126 of them, 18 attorney generals. And the crazy thing is they're not all in the South. They're all over the map. But what I'm going to ask you all to do, this is my call to action. Do not forget in your state which members of the Congress went out of their way to try to support this nonsense, because at best they're treasonous and they are traitors to this country. They're traitors to this democracy. They're damaging and have damaged this democracy in ways that we've never seen since this thing has been set to bear. And I just really, really, really struggle with how we deal with this moving forward. And I'm hoping that Joe Biden doesn't act like the typical Democrats and keep thinking that these people are going to work with him. They're not. It's just as simple as that. And I say that because we're now dealing with a period in time where it's starting to look a lot like civil unrest, civil war. For those of you who are not history buffs, or you may not know a lot about the history, you have to understand how the Civil War began in the first place. And the country had divisions very similar to this. Very similar to this. And there were no reconciliations. So it became a matter of the southern states deciding that they were going to secede. And it wasn't so much of, you could just call it southern states. It was more about slave states. And then you have to, when you start talking about the way we expanded westward and the different ways that the country was divided, because there had to be a division of how many slave states versus how many governments, federal states. And in fact, it remained just about even all the way across the board. There was even a period where they had a thing that was called Bleeding Kansas, and everything still remained even after that. And if you don't know what Bleeding Kansas is, you need to look that up. In case you never heard of a man named John Brown. I believe there's a movie coming out about John Brown. It should be pretty good. He was a lifelong abolitionist who didn't believe in slavery, and he didn't want any parts of more states becoming slave states. And so he fought to keep Kansas from being a slave state. So the thing is, you know, we're moving into a very precarious time, and I'm really curious as to how this whole thing is going to play out. All I can say about today is that I am happy that the Supreme Court, see, y'all's man, he sat up there and he stacked the Supreme Court thinking that they were going to be his savior, that they were going to come forward and keep him as president. He expected them to pull a coup, basically, which is what he's tried to do. He's tried making this a political coup, but it's not going to work. The only thing left is physical violence. So between now and January 20th, I just say let's all keep our fingers crossed and hope that, this madness don't come forward. The last time we went through something like this, the southern states decided to secede from the Union, and this is when you got the beginnings of the Civil War. Well, now secession is illegal. Not that it matters, because anybody that's breaking the law or anybody that's willing to do something like this doesn't care about the law anyway. So what difference does that make? And here's what we have to remember. And this applies to the 126 Republican individuals that made an attempt at a political coup in this country. And I was sitting the other day, and I don't know why this crossed my mind, but it's funny how it applies today, and I'm really tripping on it. But I wrote this the other day, and it said that the only thing that separates people are boundaries. These boundaries are usually put into place by divisive individuals, and divisive meaning divide. Boundaries do what? They divide. Okay. So you have to be careful about who and how you test people that are willing to divide. Because if you don't know where they've been, then you cannot possibly know what they're willing, how far they're willing to go in order to keep those divisions. So in other words, I mean, how many of us have met people that we thought were, moderately sane like the rest of us, and they turned out to be a person who will go to any length, to no ends, to create chaos and get what they want at any cost, legal or illegal. We all know somebody like that. This is what we're up against right now. Because people in power never are given the power that they have. They usually take it. There are very few individuals who are in power and remain so without forcibly taking what they wanted. I mean, think about it. Most people we know in the world, the people who are successful at whatever they do, they're more willing to do what others won't. And that's why they are successful at what they do, whether it be good or bad. It doesn't matter. Kim Shelton says, well, if it did get overturned, it would have been war in the streets. And he really divided it. Yes, absolutely. But I'm not convinced that we're beyond that yet. Because you still have to remember that there are people out here in these streets who are pissed off. Those who believe the lies and the nonsense that's come from this administration. I mean, the bottom line is these 126 Republicans who supported this nonsense to go to the Supreme Court are basically telling y'all your vote don't count. This goes beyond voter suppression. This is just straight up, we want your votes thrown out. To hell with y'all. Your vote don't count. You mean absolutely nothing, because we want this person in the highest office in the land. And for the life of me, I still have not been able to put my finger on why they're so adamant about having this person continue to run this country. But I do have some ideas. So today, as I did my homework, it began to become more clear to me what is meant by make America great again. My thinking is that there are people who believe that America was great when the South only means of income was farming, and the means by which to have those farms profitable required people to be in chains and slavery in order to be successful. While in the North, the industrialized North, it was not necessary to have or own slaves because industrialization created the economic situation that was necessary for people to survive. So now we're talking about a group of people who literally are what here in Texas they call all hat and no cattle. Everything they tried to do over the last couple of days is representative of one of them fake cowboys running around with a great big hat, ain't never been on a horse. Now, why would anybody in their right mind who was a practicing lawyer, I'm not even a lawyer, and I knew this wasn't going anywhere. The only way this situation would have made any kind of a turn, it would have literally taken treasonous acts and behaviors from individuals that he had put in place to make it happen. And as wrong as it is, they could have made it legal. And that's what we have to always remember, that the people who create the laws in this country can literally legalize and decriminalize anything that they choose to at any time. So if we're not diligent about making sure that we're involved in that process of putting people in the proper positions in order to make laws, then we are doing ourselves a disservice, and we stand a chance of losing at every turn in cases very similar to this. So we have to be very, very careful about what we do and how we do it and who we allow to go and speak for us in Washington, because that's what this amounts to. Who is speaking for you? Now, my question becomes, out of these 126 congressional individuals and the 18 attorney generals, you have to really ask yourself, who are they speaking for? Because let's not forget that 73 to 74 million people voted in favor of having Benedict Donald as their president again. The most treasonous, corrupt person I've ever even heard of sitting in this high office. President Nixon wasn't even this bad. And they shut him down. But for some reason, they continue to try and keep this regime propped up. And I don't really care what your political affiliation is. It doesn't matter. This is a slap in the face of democracy. It's a slap in the face of everything that this country has built itself up to be. They have done so much irreparable damage, it's unreal. It's going to take decades for us to recover from this nonsense. See, the scorched earth mentality and scorched earth attitude that our commander in thief has put out here is very dangerous. There was a man executed on yesterday. I talked about the people who will be executed over the last in the last show. Well, one was executed on yesterday, and moving forward, they are wrangling as we speak to make sure that 5 more are executed between now and January 20th. It's like, what exactly are we trying to accomplish here? Now, don't misunderstand me. I believe that if a person is, found guilty, then they have to be served with their punishment. Although I'm on the fence about the death penalty. And I'm on the fence about the death penalty because I just don't understand. I mean, I struggle with the idea that a group of people get together and decide this person doesn't need to be breathing anymore. I don't know that that's our place. On the other hand, these type of things are a necessity in order for our society to move forward and for us to continue being viable, so that we don't have people just doing whatever they want to do. And some of these crimes that these people committed are very heinous. I've read up about them, and I mean, you really can't almost argue with it. But on the other hand, here we have a president who claims that he is anti-abortion. Mr. I don't believe in killing babies. Maybe not. But if you don't believe in killing babies, explain to me how it is that it's okay for you to kill anybody. You talk about you want to put God in it, and you want to make it about, who can live and who can't. I say you can't pick and choose. That's kind of like people who like to cherry pick the Bible. You want to take part of it, but you don't want to take the rest of it. You want the part that fits you right now and use that. It's not how this works. It's just not. You can't pick and choose. Pick a side. You either for it or you ain't. And to me, they're the same thing. So I personally got a problem with it. The thing about where we are now, and I'm glad that in the last, 2 hours, the Supreme Court, for the second time this week, shot down the nonsense of Donald Trump and this administration, because it was necessary. And you have to ask yourself now, and this thing that Ken Paxton did, I'm considering this to be more like political theater. I'm not sure if this was political theater or it was an attempted political coup. Either way, I think that the people who even made this attempt or tied themselves to it should be held accountable. Dennis McCullum says that's Trump's way of saying he could kill a man in broad daylight on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. I was thinking that myself. I really was. And it just makes me wonder if his thirst to see these people executed has anything to do with his willingness, for example, to put out that full page article in the New York Times about the Central Park Five, that they should get the death penalty and this and that, only to be found out that they were not guilty. And he still pressed in on that. Then for him to make a statement about being able to kill people on in the middle of Fifth Avenue and nobody say anything. Well, that again makes me feel like as much hatred as he has in his heart, it would make sense that he would just be like, yeah, let me kill some people before I get out of office. I want to be able to say I did that. That man has no compassion. He has no, and again, I don't care what your politics are. I'm watching people running around here right now because I have to follow other news outlets and I have to follow other media and other ways of getting my information. And it really trips me out how many people are still running around here talking about Donald Trump won this election. Why? Simply because he said he won. Not because any numbers work in his favor, not because anything that he's claimed is true. How do you allow a pack of straight up liars, I mean, lie to your face? How do you allow these people to make any decisions on your behalf? If what makes no sense to me, it's kind of like what Dr. King used to say, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. What makes these people think that it's not going to visit them at some point? What makes them think that these same behaviors, see here, think of it this way. If tomorrow, let's say tomorrow, all the Democrats in the world decided we was going to pack up and leave the country. Let's just say all the Democrats got up and left, and that left nothing but Republicans who think that they have all the same things in common simply because they're so-called Republican. Do you realize that they will find a way to divide even them? There will be divisions. There will be ways to maintain a certain level of power, and it all has to do with economics. Like it or not, it's all about the money. Always follow the money. These poor white folks who, for some odd reason, seem to believe that Donald Trump gives a damn about them, that any of these people care anything about them. I've said it here before, and I'm going to continue to say, because it's the truth, as long as we remain divided and fighting each other, they can continue picking our pockets. They don't care what color you are. Long as what come out of your pocket is green. That's all they care about. Tania Foster says, oh, he will. If someone reminds him he should do it, kill people. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is what he wants. Apparently, this is what he wants to do. Dennis says no moral compass. And I agree with that 100%. And that's, fairly clearly obvious. And its funny thing is, I remember when he first went into office, when he first was running for office, he kept, oh, we're going to win. We're going to be doing so much winning. You're not going to know. You're going to be sick of winning. He hadn't won anything throughout this entire process. I just don't understand what it is that's so damn fascinating about him that makes people go against their own best interests on the most basic of levels. Now, here we are with this vaccine. On the show, I talked about the possibility of mandatory vaccines last week. Now, the funny thing was someone in the Black Factor family came in and they made a comment later on after the show, and they said that they were going to take the vaccine and they really hoped that a lot of people didn't get caught up in not taking the vaccine out of fear or whatever the case may be. But I said this before. Let me repeat it. 40 years, no HIV cure. Now they have a few different vaccines. Took 40 years. Cancer. They've been looking for a cure or something for it for 100 years. Claudine, how are you this evening? Thank you for checking in all the way from Paris, France. 100 years, nothing for cancer. And steady asking for more money. And we know, based on particular evidence, because we've had individuals who said they had something for it and they had cures, and they always seem to come up missing. Nothing in the history of the common cold has come to pass that will say that the common cold is curable or even treatable beyond natural remedies. But within 6 months, they came up with a vaccine for COVID-19 with new technology. Now, I'm not telling anybody what to do. You do whatever suits you. If you feel like you need to take it, do your thing. All power to the people. But she made the comment of saying, we shouldn't be afraid. We should take it. Listen, my trust for this government under this president, it doesn't exist. Hell, the first thing you got to do is prove to me that it's a vaccine. I don't know what the hell's in them syringes. I don't know what they're doing. I don't get it. Jaquilla Hughes says, still waiting on the FDA to approve it. Exactly. In fact, they threatened somebody there today and told him if he doesn't approve it by the end of today to go find another job. If it's supposed to be such a great thing, what's the problem? What's the hesitancy? See, I'm not convinced of anything. I just need to wait and see. Fools rush in. How that Public Enemy say, punks jump up to get beat down. I'm cool on that. I ain't in no rush. I'm not in a rush. I'll wait. So, all I'm saying is that, people, common sense is not a flower that blooms in everybody's garden, but sometimes we need to take our time and, make sure things are good. I'm just waiting on January 20th. Yeah, January 20th, y'all. That's what time it is. 12 o'clock, January 20th. I might even go to Washington this year for the inauguration. Last time I did that was for Barack Obama, and it was freezing cold. But I might take my chances. We'll see. But the bottom line is we're in a time where they are talking about this particular vaccine is new technology. Well, listen, y'all, I'm in the automotive industry. That's one of the industries I'm in and have been for a very long time. I'm ICAR certified. I'm ASE certified, STG certified, and the list goes on. And one thing I know about vehicles is that when a manufacturer puts out a brand new car, something ain't nobody ever seen before, some new model, that first year to two, there's all kinds of bugs and glitches and all sorts of stuff that goes wrong with those vehicles. They work the bugs out in the next 2 or 3 years, and then the car becomes viable. It becomes something that people can depend on and rely on. I feel the same way about damn near anything that's brand new. It'd be a cold day in hell when you see me run out and buy something that just came out, nobody ever seen or heard of before. I gotta wait. I gotta wait because I'm gonna wait for the bugs to get worked out, and then I'm gonna wait and make sure that it's something that I wanna be in. Y'all think about it like this. How many brand new, y'all remember when the Audi 5000 came out? I remember that car. I remember that car came out, everybody was like, oh, that Audi 5000, oh my God, that car is fly. How many Audi 5000s you see on the road right now today from that time period? Now, I grant you, it's an old car, but I bet you see a bunch of Chevy Camaros from that same time frame. I bet you see a whole bunch of Ford Mustangs from that same time frame. And the list goes on. See, anytime they put up all of these brand new technology, change your DNA, because they say it does an alteration to your DNA to help you create antibodies. I don't know that I want my DNA changed. Hell, I don't know nothing about the DNA I got now. But I'm going to leave it up to you to make a decision for my DNA. Ah, man, come on. Come on, y'all. Now, next thing you know, people going to be walking around talking about they got superpowers. Either that or they're going to be having the shakes and running around here like the Walking Dead. I don't know. I don't know. And that is the whole problem right there. I don't know. I don't know what y'all know. And like I said before, to each his own, you do whatever's right for you. But I don't know. As for me, when it comes to taking that vaccine,
Nope.
I don't think so. Can't do it. Not right now. I gotta wait. Now, the thing is, and like I had warned you all, I warned you, haha. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been saying that 9/11, we lost 2,994, I believe it was, souls. In Pearl Harbor, we lost 2,400 and change of people. Yesterday, we lost 3,124 souls to COVID in one day. Now, Pearl Harbor was considered tragic, and the World Trade Center was considered tragic. Do you know what the only difference between Pearl Harbor, the World Trade Center, and that amount of deaths in one day in COVID? Property. Think about this. A bunch of ships got sank at Pearl Harbor. 2 buildings were taken down by 2 airplanes. Not to mention the other so-called airplanes, which I still don't believe was there, that went down. But less people died from each of those respective events than died on yesterday. Let's not even include the rest of the days of the week. But 2 days this week, we lost over 3,000 people in one day to COVID, to a virus that people still are walking around here claiming doesn't exist. But these same people who were all gung-ho and ready to go fight the war, we're going to go over there and kick some ass. A lot of them don't even believe COVID exists right now today. Where is the compassion for the lives lost? Or is it more important that the buildings got torn down and the ships got sunk? Those were tragic days that we memorialize every single year. We memorialize Pearl Harbor every year. We memorialize 9/11 every year. Are we going to memorialize for 6 months how many people died due to COVID? See, this is the perspective that we tend to neglect. The only difference between lives lost, number one, COVID, is we losing a lot more lives than either one of those 2 days. But the only thing that sets apart the death toll and how we see them has to do with property damage. This is America, capitalist society. That's what we live in. And you have to remember that right now, and you can prove this by watching the people who love their Confederate flags. Some of them are still angry about having lost the Civil War. These same people like to walk around with swastika flags and Confederate flags. These all seem to be the same groups of people while they claiming heritage. Isn't it amazing that these people call themselves patriots, yet they fly the flags of armies that this country defeated? losers. In every sense of the word. They're losers. You lost. But you want to hold on to those losses. And this is why when I say that there's a strong possibility, they've only got one thing left. And that is violence. Cynthia TG says they are offering $740 to take the vaccine, and you have to sign a letter saying that they are not responsible for any side effects, including terminal illness. See my point? There you go. That's what I'm talking about. And Dennis McCullum says, will there be any monuments built to honor them before Trump's library is built? Yep, great question. We got a monument to 9/11. We got a monument to Pearl Harbor. Are they going to build a monument to COVID deaths, to people who passed away? And you know do you know how disrespectful it is to people who have passed on and their families to listen to these people walk around here acting like this thing is not real? That's just extremely disrespectful. What happened to just not saying anything? Just don't be disrespectful to these people. If you don't think it exists, all right, that's cool. But you don't have to come out here and act like you just reinvented the wheel and you figured out something that the rest of the world doesn't know. You know, that's nothing more than people who want attention. You just want to seem like you know something somebody else don't know. You want to be right. You'd rather be right than to be compassionate. Because you don't know. Just like I don't know what's in this so-called vaccine. I don't know. I have no idea. For all I know, they could be putting chips in them. I don't know what's in it. And the sad part, well, not sad, but I'm not a studied scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm none of those things. If they showed me what they put in it, I couldn't tell you what it was. Do y'all understand that we now live in our society where you can't trust people anymore? You can't trust the government. Donald Trump has made everything untrustworthy. And he has people who support his untrustworthiness. And as a country, we're supposed to trust that the CDC, government entity, who he's controlled down to the letter, and all these other people, because he said he wanted this out by the end of the year, it's out. I can't trust that. I just can't. That's just me. You do what you feel is right for you. I can't trust it. See? Now, Riri says on here, true. I heard about the microchips as well. See? I'm not the only one that's thinking that. I don't trust that. I don't trust nothing about nothing that they're talking about right now. And to be honest with you, lying has become so normalized in this government that now who's to say what the truth is? At least we had past presidents and people, when they said something, they cared enough about the people that you could say, okay, I believe him. I trust what he's saying. That was part of what made this democracy as strong and as powerful as it's been throughout its from its inception, was trust. Now, I'm not saying we had to trust everything, because the United States government has done some really heinous shit to black people especially. But what I am saying is that on the surface, at least we had some level of understanding that we could work from. Cynthia TG says they have proven themselves untrustworthy. Exactly. Just like how we talked about all of the different experiments done on black people throughout the history of this country. None of this is new to us. It's new to them. It ain't new to us. Dennis McCullum says 45 doesn't even recognize them in any speeches he makes. Exactly. That's the other thing. Not even, let's say, a prayer for them. He doesn't care about them, and it shows every day. Exactly. All he cares about is whether or not he can be president again. He's like a child throwing a damn tantrum and having a fit because he can't have his way. Well, when I was growing up, you know what? Donald Trump, to me, he's the poster child of an insubordinate youth and person coming up that they never got hit in their damn mouth. when we were coming up, when I was coming up, you crack out a turn and you act the way he acts on the playground, you was going to get your ass kicked. Simple as that. I just think Donald Trump ain't never really had his ass kicked, to be honest with you. That's just me. Tania Foster says, it's really interesting how many people have died, but all the Republican minions pushing this disease have survived except Herman Cain. Yep. And I said that the other day, but you have to understand, these people have access to these remedies that the rest of the world doesn't have. That's the thing. When Donald Trump got sick, he had a whole helicopter pull up in the yard at the White House and pick him up. His ambulance was a Marine 1, was Marine 2, or whatever they call it. Yeah, Marine 1. That was his ambulance. He got a life flight to the hospital and then got treatments that ain't accessible to nobody else. But Herman Cain died. Rudy Giuliani, COVID. Got treatment, not accessible to anybody else. Melania Trump, Kayleigh McEnany, and all the other little people he had around him, his minions, all of them sick, special treatment. And then tell you, don't wear a mask, don't worry about it. You're not going to die. And I have heard countless stories of individuals who have died who were supporting his nonsense. I even heard of one man who literally said on his deathbed he wished he had listened. Come on, man. Leah Holmes says, my son is in the Army. They told him he had to take the flu shot. So he did and got very sick. After that, he tested for the coronavirus. I mean, he was really sick. He thinks that he was part of the study and they gave him the vaccine mixed in with it. See? Can't trust it. Was that Public Enemy? Can't trust it. I wish I had that queued up. But, and then Riri said Ben Carson survived after he was cleared to receive the best medication. Exactly. All of the people who stood by him, stood in his corner and held up his nonsense. Mike Pence, same thing. All of these people are all fine because I'm going to tell you right now, it's amazing to me how nobody in that administration who caught this thing actually died or was even really gravely ill. Shirlene Nichols says, I don't believe he was sick, but yes, if so, he did receive special treatment. You know what, Shirlene, at first I thought the same thing. I thought that maybe Donald Trump wasn't sick, but then it occurred to me that he had to be, and here's why. Donald Trump's ego would not allow him to be out here acting like, or for him to pretend to be sick. That's not in his sociopathic behavior. He wants to always appear to be the picture of health. That's why when he came back from the hospital, he went and stood up there barely breathing on that balcony to try to make a show of everything. See, all of these little moments that he does, y'all got to watch him. When he does these little shows he puts on, this is for posterity. This is for his presidential library, which I hope is a cardboard box on Fifth Avenue. These are the things that he wants to be seen in he wants to be remembered as the greatest president ever. That's the way in his mind, in that bubble that he lives in and his people are in, he wants to be remembered that way. History is not going to be kind to Donald Trump. And I'm not even worried in the least about a 2024 run from him. He's done after this. See, the new is about to wear off. And he won't be able to put any one of his children up there because by the time they get done with them in New York and these criminal charges that's about to drop, along with a bunch of other stuff that's going to come up after this, I don't see them politically. They're done. They're finished. I'm not worried about that at all. So far, the majority, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to say 98% of the things that I've told you prior to them happening on this show have happened. I have rarely been off base. The one or two times that I have been, that I'm glad I was was because it was a worst case scenario when we started talking about potential civil unrest. Other than that, I try to bring facts and I try to make sure that everything that I say has some validity and a base to it, not just some random crap I pull out of the sky like some of those people who support his nonsense, because they really do. They keep talking about, oh, well, something is not right. Well, tell us what it is so we can get this over with. But they can never tell you that. And anytime you ask a direct question, there's always a shift so that they don't have to answer the question. And you can be sitting there going, well, they said, out of hell with what they said. Give me some facts. That's one thing that this particular administration is void of: facts. Alternative facts. Now, they got plenty of those. They got plenty of alternative facts. Regina Freeman says, I believe he was sick because he was quiet for a spell and looked off when he came back and has not been on camera much since. That's true. And he's definitely been off the radar since this election, because he's so busy trying to make people, he wants to make a triumphant return and say that I'm the president again. Not going to happen, buddy. I've heard rumors that he's potentially going to quit after Christmas. Like, in other words, when he leaves for Christmas vacation, he ain't coming back. I can see that. Don Dot what? He'll never win again, but if he doesn't go to jail, he will run again. But he won't win in 2024. He ain't gonna run. He can run if he wants to, but the thing about it is that let me put it this way. What's gonna make the difference will be how Biden handles this next 4 years. Biden and Harris. That will be an interesting thing. And I do not want to preempt or make any sort of off remarks. I say this very cautiously and tongue in cheek. I would like to see Joe Biden get through these next 4 years with his health. Let me just put that there like that. And in fact, if he doesn't, that alone will keep Donald Trump from running in 4 years, because he'll be too old, and we already know he's halfway broke down. They will not put him back in office. It's not going to work. Biden is right now the oldest individual to ever win the presidency in the history of the United States, along with being having the most votes of any president in the history of the United States. But with all of this history making, I am firmly in the position that it's time for a changing of the guard. It's time for old white men to stop running this country, because they still harbor too many of the old ideas that have kept this country stagnant for a very long time. They keep promoting this idea that the United States is the greatest country in the world. We're number one at this and number one at that, and we're really not. If you do the numbers, I'm not going to sit here. I don't have a whole list in front of me, but be very clear. There's a lot of things about this country that are lacking, and education is one of them. And the list goes on. And there's certain things that we put money to in this country, and education ain't one of them. We put more money into the prison system in this country than we do into education. And the quote, and y'all correct me, because I be forget. Sometimes my mind be moving so fast I don't remember who's who. But the quote is, it is better to build strong men or build strong boys than it is to fix broken men. Now, y'all tell me who said that, because I don't remember. It's off the top of my head right now. Anyway, Biden has moved forward with his cabinet picks. And his cabinet picks, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I think it's scaring the hell out of these people. Because the people he's putting in cabinet are looking way too much like the way America looks. Which means that as the laws begin to move in this country, things are going to change a lot. And Joe Biden is being very bold. And he essentially is telling everybody,
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
That's what he's saying. So he letting them know. Now he just picked Lloyd Austin, General Lloyd Austin, as defense secretary. See? Black man, first time ever. We got Marcia Fudge as the Department of Housing and Urban Development, another black woman. Susan Rice, back in the game on domestic policy. And the list goes on. We got more women and more people who look more like the way America looks than ever before. It's a changing of the guard. So I give Biden props for that part. I just hope that he stands his ground and is a more he takes a firmer hand with his opposition, firmer than those who had been than he had taken in the than the Democrats have taken in the past. Thank you, Tania Foster, Frederick Douglass. I hope that he takes a much firmer hand and they either get in with the program or get lost. Do them the same way Trump has done the Democrats. No matter how good the legislation, no matter how important the things that need to be done and said, they just do what they want. Now, I'm not saying that we should circumvent the law or go around or skip around, the proper procedures. But I am saying that Donald Trump has done damage that needs to be repaired. And when extreme things take place, extreme measures need to happen to correct them. And I feel like that's what needs to happen. It absolutely does. And Dana Brock puts up this big old 9-number number on the board that says the U.S. debt, but we're the richest country in the world. Not. Now see, here's that brings me to the other thing. I think I said this the other day. You've not heard one word, not one utterance of the budget or deficit in this country in 4 years. Before Donald Trump got elected, that's all anybody wanted to talk about. All anybody wanted to hear about, oh, my kids are going to have to pay for this. What we going to do? Not one word. And he has exploded the deficit under his watch. Not one word about it. Not one. Under the GOP. How many of y'all know what the GOP means? The Republican Party. Do y'all know what that means? It means Grand Old Party. Now, how does that sound? The GOP. And they still use that moniker today. The Grand Old Party. It sounds like some good old boys. Sound like some slave owners. Sound like some people that want America great again. When black folks was bent over picking something for their benefit. The Grand Old Party. And do y'all know, we talk about this being a two-party system. But the funny thing about that is that, and this is for my people who are not history buffs, who don't, really stay on top of the history. There was once a party called the Whig Party, WHIG. And y'all remember we had the Tea Party. And before there were Republicans, there were Federalists. And then, of course, you had Democrats. The list goes on. There have been many, many parties throughout the history of this country. But you got to remember, this is what we call, what was deemed the great experiment, this democracy. The founding fathers were smart enough to put things in place that kept Donald Trump from literally taking over this country and becoming a dictator, an autocrat. The things in place, even when he tried to use the Supreme Court as his own personal political slush fund, they turned on him twice this week. Not turned on him, they did their job. They did what they were supposed to do. They did what the law mandates that they do. They did what the founding fathers set them in place to do. See, somebody forgot that there are multiple branches of government. And that's why they're there. It's called checks and balances. Amelia Forbes says, my random crap. Trump cheated in 2016 at voting machines. Dems know it. To disclose it would bring doubt to our election system. Thus, the strong effort to vote by mail even more. COVID. Avoiding voting machines, Trump cheated again in 2020. He should have won again. Now saying Dems cheated because there's no way he could have lost. My thoughts. Trump did not get that many votes. Voting by mail helped Biden. True vote get counted. Yeah. Time will tell. I wonder how long before we get to see the redacted Mueller report. It's gonna be over a decade before you get to see that. That's gonna be a long time coming. The thing is this. Number one, there is no widespread voter fraud. It doesn't exist. It never did. This was one of those boogeymen that Trump made up. You know, he likes to make up boogeymen. And when he makes up these boogeymen, he creates the things that other people need to make them feel better about not liking what's going on. His mantra is, if you know, you don't like what we're doing, too bad, and move on. But the way everything is going now, it is my hope that we can at least kind of get back on track. But like I said before, I don't get too much in your, don't get too up in arms about it, because I'm gonna tell you, we still got a lot of years before the smoke clears on this one. There's still gonna be a lot coming. There's still gonna be a lot happening. There are still people who are subversive in the government, who are looking to do destruction and damage, that are still gonna be doing his bidding. But like I said before at the top of this show, you have 126 congressional seats that now need to be questioned for treason and for being treacherous in their way, for doing what they're doing, for attempting to overthrow this government in a way that we've not seen, I don't think, ever. These people need to be held to account. Each one of you watching this show, each one of you live in a state where one of these people has gone against everything that we stand for, and they should be held to account. Donald Trump will be gone on January 20th at noon. All of these people have to maintain their jobs. They forget that they still have people that they have to answer to, but we have to make them accountable for their actions, for their behaviors, for their treason, for their willingness to overthrow this government. Do you really want somebody like that representing you in Congress? Seriously? And I don't care who your politics are. Because if they're willing to go that far to tear this down, how far are they willing to go against you? Don't think they won't. Self-serving individuals do just that. They serve themselves. It has nothing to do with the greater good. So I'm going to stop ranting, because that's what I'm doing. Every now and then, y'all, every now and then. But it is Free Thinking Friday, so I just figured I'd get on here and rant and throw some things out there and give you a little food for thought and just talk about what's going on. So one thing that I can say, I am extremely happy and elated that the Supreme Court has done their job. Thank you, Supreme Court. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're liberal. Thank you for doing your job. That's what I'm talking about, you know. So with all of that said, ladies and gentlemen, it's just about my time. I appreciate each and every one of you. Oh, and before I go, let me tell you this much. I forgot, I should have mentioned this in the beginning, but listen, y'all. The Black Factor is now available on podcast. We will now be available for download through iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitch, and there's 3 or 4 more. So you will be able to listen to these shows in their entirety. No video, just straight listening, MP3 style. So you'll be able to get those shows made available to you on those platforms, and they should be all up and operating by Monday. Some are up now, but it takes a little time to get everything configured and situated, but they're up there, and we're going to be adding these shows as well as others, because I'm going to start doing exclusive podcast shows that are not done on video. So I want to say thank everybody. Thank all of y'all. Do not forget, please don't forget. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Get your copy of The Black Factor, available at bmforbes.com. We got plenty of new copies in. We're ready to distribute. Make excellent Christmas gifts. Don't forget them. And also don't forget that you can catch us live when we're on live on YouTube, and the shows are also there. If you ever want to go and watch any of the past shows, you can go to YouTube. You can catch them here on Facebook. You can catch them on the Black Factor at Facebook. You can catch me on Twitch at The Black Factor. You can get us on Instagram at The Black Factor. You can catch me on Periscope at The Black Factor. I think I got all of them. So there's no reason and no excuse for you not to get this information. So please check in, chime in, check me out, hang out with your boy anytime you like. I'm here for you. If you ever have any questions, please drop me a line. I want to, let's chop it up. If you have any show suggestions, drop me a line. There are things that I love to talk about and things I want to talk about. There are a lot of things that I don't think about. I don't know everything. Drop it on me. Let me do my homework. Let me find out what's going on and let's get to the bottom of something. That's what we do here at the Black Factor. That's what makes it all important. That's what makes it all a factor, because it's the black side of what's happening, the Black Factor. Ladies and gentlemen, with that said, I'm about to get up out of here. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful evening. Thank you for chiming in. And once again, before I go, I'm going to leave with my tribute to Mr. Bryce Ross. Like I said at the top of the show, may he rest in peace. One of the Black Factor family that we've lost. And like I said, alumni, CVS, Vietnam veteran, Black Panthers forever, all power to the people, father, and black man. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to have yourselves a wonderful evening. And may this man rest in peace. Good night.